We now return to Let's Play Coteries of New York. Okay, so, made some mistakes last time, and I think I am playing the game wrong in general. Let's go ahead and dip into some of the stuff that we learned last time, particularly Clan Bruja. Clan Bruja have always embraced from the ranks of those sympathetic to counterculture and revolution. They seek out allies who question normative ideas, and recognizing the fire of the oppressed, they gravitate towards the underdog. Common perception places punks, gang members, maladjusted immigrants rejected by the society that should protect them, and placard-carrying and Molotov-wielding rioters among the Bruja. While the above is sometimes true, the clan adheres to no single ideology, and their desire for dissent reaches as deep as the fraudster ripping off his own company, the lawyer representing the poor pro bono, the neo-Nazi claiming to be alt-right, and the basement dweller downloading thousands of movies illegally for redistribution on streaming sites. Fledglings embraced to fight and protest are commonly referred to as rebels, punks, or rabble. So here's the thing. I am ingratiating myself, I think, too deeply with the vampire establishment. For one thing, it's a little out of character. Our sire probably turned us because of the conversation we had in the club way back in the beginning of the game. We were like-minded individuals, which I believe also explains why Sophie was disappointed. When we went to her apartment, she was looking out at the beauty of the city or whatever, and we didn't register that. I think she was disappointed because it showed that we are not Toreador like her. But the last interaction, which was disappointing, to say the least, I think was also because I was acting out of character. For one thing, for someone who's supposed to be, I guess, aggressive, because apparently the Bruja, we've been told several times, have a problem with their temper, I took a more peaceful, non-aggressive approach, and that probably didn't start us out. To be fair, that entire encounter was just awkward to begin with. It's like we're poking around, we find their hidden lair, and then we're like, whoa, I'm not here to fight, I just want to be friends. Like, what? That's just... whoever wrote that did a bad job. But... So anyway, I think that from now on, I need to be playing a little bit more towards the pissed off, angsty, although very socially awkward loner type that this character seems to be. I mean, given how socially awkward he was, in fact, I'm not surprised that the girlfriend that he mopes over left him to begin with. I feel like that sort of tainted, our introduction to the character has tainted my decisions so far, because he's not really that kind of a guy. At least it wasn't shown to be. He was really more of just an angsty wimp. I mean, he was out clubbing to try and make him forget his breakup, and he didn't come off as sort of the angry punk, but maybe that's what we need to do. Okay, where have we left off? I feel like we did talk about the Harpy. The clan Toreador. Okay, Toreador emerged from the ranks of accomplished artists, of both new and faded. Not all artists need to wield a brush. To the Toreador, art encompasses all forms of entertainment and stimulation. The Clan of the Rose courts the greatest actors, singers, writers, dancers, and even sex workers, if the degenerates believe such mortals will offer something new to their clan. Despite the custom of embracing only the best, the Toreador fixation on beauty and innocence has caused many a diva to make a fledgling in haste. Many a moonlight night, new clan members have emerged as shallow hedonists, one-hit wonders, or just a stunning body with nothing else to offer. Nicknames are divas, harlots, sensates, perverts, hedonists, and degenerates. Okay, we definitely have done these. Clan Ventru. While many other clans claim positions of influence in mortal politics and business, no one can rival the Ventru in the game of pure power and wealth. They have long been leaders of the Camarilla, holding more positions of power than any other clan, and they are loath to give that up. The Ventru believe in the strength of tradition and lineage. The embrace is one of their most important rituals, and the choice of child affects the way other members of the clan treat the sire. The Ventru therefore aim to embrace overachievers, politically or financially powerful kine, or those with the talent that sets them apart from the masses. They maintain they are destined to rule all kindred, no matter the sacrifices involved. Their detractors call them little lords, Borgias, and tyrants. Those who respect Ventrus for keeping the Camarilla together use terms like blue bloods, patricians, or warlords. So we had a choice there at the beginning of the three characters. We chose Bruja, the other was Ventru, and the other was Toreador. I wonder if choosing Toreador would have affected things a little bit more with Sophie and Kadir, who apparently are both Toreador. Anyway, Tremir, a hermetic mage in 8th century Romania, Tremir was the leader of a cabal of magic users, rightfully feared for their obsession with knowledge and power. Unwilling to accept his own mortality, Tremir cast his eyes on the hallowed secret of immortality. In his greed, the mage instigated the most terrifying magical experiments ever conducted, damning himself and his followers to a hell of their own making. Terrified, they died and woke again, to an eternity of unlife and hunger. Cut off from their craft. In a mockery of their former magical rituals, now only fresh blood allows the Tremir to cast their thaumaturgical spells to twist reality. The clan is still organized like an initiatory occult order, recently fractured into a number of competing houses, each claiming to be the rightful heir of Tremir's legacy. They see true power as knowing the ways of shaping the world, having access to the right blood, and owning the rarest of ancient artifacts. They're usually referred to as warlocks, probably supposed to be hermetics, or transgressors. Then we have Vitae. Clan Nosferatu, the clan of the hidden, are known under many names: hives, lepers, sewer rats, carnies, scabs, orlocks, but a few of them sound pleasant. For the Nosferatu, the embrace is a journey through abjection, as the blood of the horror gradually deforms the struggling tissue of the human body into grotesque abominations. Weeks of pain result in deformities similar to terrible birth defects, cancer growths, crippling injuries, and leper-like sores. Those who endure it find themselves as monstrous echoes of Murnau's silver screen vision. But perhaps pain and humiliation teaches compassion. The Nosferatu, as they jokingly call themselves, are the most humane of the kindred, wearing their curse on the outside rather than the inside. To blend in, some call on the blood to wear the borrowed faces of their victims or disappear from sight, while others rely on prosthetics and heavy makeup. Clan Malkavian. Psychologists would diagnose the children of Malkav with schizophrenia, depression, obsessive-compulsive disorder, or post-traumatic stress disorder, sometimes all at once. In reality, the Clan of the Moon are all these things and none. Like the wise madmen of poetry, their derangement stems from seeing too much of the world at once, from understanding too deeply, and feeling emotions that are too strong to bear. They self-medicate with blood, but that is just a temporary solution. All Malkavians suffer mental illness following the embrace, sometimes accentuating an existing condition, other times adding a new dimension to their instability. As if their thoughts and actions were based on the otherworldly logic, there seems to be no knowing when their condition will manifest destructively or when it will offer important perspectives where such were previously lacking. They are referred to as oracles, jesters, and visionaries, or, in a more insulting manner, madmen, liabilities, and lunatics. And then the Second Inquisition, often abbreviated as SI, a collective name among vampires for the recent coordinated efforts of the intelligence agencies to combat the kindred as if they were a terrorist threat. Few individual agents understand what they are fighting, and the interagency collaboration codenamed First Light places enormous import on keeping their operations secret and disguised as ordinary anti-terrorist action. So, among the many different IPs of the World of Darkness universe, you have, vampires, werewolves, angels, demons, ghosts, I believe, or possessed or something like that. Many of the horror occult tropes. There is also hunters, and I'm assuming this is in reference to that. I have not delved deeply into all of the various branches of this, but anyway. So, based upon that new knowledge, we now have a second chance to go find a companion. Not right now, though, because it's about to be dawn and we should go home. But in the future, I was really hoping to get the gangrel mostly just for role-playing purposes. because we are, I believe, most closely aligned, and as it said about the Bruja, we seek out other nonconformists, and that would have made a lot of sense. Here we have the Tremir guy, the magician. I feel like, while magic would be cool, this would also be very much the same as the last situation, especially assuming that the writing is going to be the same, where we just walk up and be like, hey, you want to be friends? I can't see why a magician would suddenly just want to ally with a temperamental punk, basically. It makes no sense. The Malkavian, according to the commentary in the art book, is apparently the studio favorite for the developers. But also, I don't think is a very good match for someone who, like I said last episode, can't control their temper. And even in one of those dialogue options, he himself had the option to say, yeah, she doesn't sound like my type. So I think we're going to go with Mr. Detective here. I believe this also would make a little bit more sense in a story way. You know, the fact that we could actually go there and be able to offer something, because being Nosferatu and having a deformed appearance means that he probably does not mingle and interact with others too well, not just other kindred, but humans. And so I feel like we may be able to help out in ways where we can actually interact socially and not have it be so off-putting for him. But also it just kind of it makes sense that we can go and we can offer our services to help and then be friends that way in a transactional way. This also would mirror the Bloodlines game, because one of the first things you can do in that game is meet a bounty hunter who requires you to help out a little bit, and then that kind of gives you an in. So I think we'll go with that guy, and hopefully not screw that one up as well. But first, we need to head back before the sun comes up. You notice something strange by the front door of your haven. A letter's been slipped under the door in a cream-colored, old-fashioned envelope. There's no name on it, but you know it's meant for you. Opening the letter, it's clear it's been sent by someone incredibly old-fashioned, rich, or a fan of classic stationery. No normal person sends letters like this. The note is short and terse, written in elegant, delicate handwriting. You are cordially invited to a rendezvous at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine. I'll be waiting to make your acquaintance tomorrow night. Look for me closer to God. There is no other information. It looks like you have a mysterious invitation for the following night. Well, that's not great. I was given 2 nights to find somebody here, so right? Because Sophie said, I'll give you tonight and maybe tomorrow night to go find a companion. So if I don't go to this guy, I mean, this sounds like they're waiting for me right now. I don't know. Well, let's give it a try then. If we are in fact a Bruja, I feel like, especially given who we were before we turned, if we lose out on the chance for a companion, which I don't understand why they would do from a gameplay perspective, but if that happens, I think going it alone will be fine anyway. Faith and Myth, Part 1. You've received an invitation to meet a mysterious someone at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine. Going there with backup would be nice, but I don't know how long it's going to take for one of these guys to be like, okay, we'll be companions and friends, and I'll go with you. You haven't been to a church since you became a vampire, or kindred as the euphemism goes, or probably long before then either. You've had to focus on concrete, practical things like survival and feeding. Speaking of which, I did not feed. I think didn't they say we have like 2 or 3 days before we really start to feel the impact? We should probably consider that, though, next time we're out. You've learned the essentials of the vampire experience, but you don't really have a clear idea of what it all means. The Cathedral of St. John the Divine is a New York landmark. You've been inside once before when you were much younger. You marveled at the Gothic facade. Looking at it now from across the street, it feels ominous. The prospect of an anonymous invitation to a secret meeting is a worrying one, but the venue is well chosen. It's hard to imagine a violent attack in a place like this with eyes everywhere. You enter the cathedral discreetly. You quickly learned this is an essential skill for a vampire, how to move without anyone noticing you. The full force of the cathedral's architecture hits you as you walk between the pews. If the architect meant to create the feeling of being small in the face of God's glory, mission accomplished. Based on the note, you're assuming whoever you're meeting is somewhere in the front. As you step closer to the high altar, it feels as if someone is dragging at your feet. Something is dragging at your feet. Man, I was doing all right, and now I just can't read this anymore. As if the stone beneath you resisted your movement. I mean, vampires are not necessarily satanic creatures. In the lore, I believe Cain does get cast out and shunned, and the curse of not being able to be in the light of God's glory is upon him. But whilst he's wandering away, he comes into contact with Lilith. And I don't remember in the Book of Nod if he takes her as a companion and that's what creates the vampires, or if she is the stereotypical demonic entity as she's often depicted, and then something else happens there. But anyway, this is not necessarily true. And honestly, I don't think this is true either. And this is in the vampire universe, the World of Darkness universe, is not true. Because, as I said, there are angels and demons. So let's go with this one. Because does God still listen to you? Because apparently it was hinted that we have gone to church before, so whatever. It's been a long time since you've prayed. You wonder whether God listens to creatures like you. Fatalistically, you take a step, then another. You're not sure if your God is present in this cathedral, but perhaps it doesn't matter. What you feel is real enough. There's an old man sitting in the front. You see only the back of his head, bowed down in silent prayer. Your footsteps echo on the floor, and he turns to look at you. You can't take your eyes off him. He's tall, dignified, white hair balding, a few strands escaping to the sides. He's wearing glasses and simple clerical clothing. His eyes are warm and pale, too kind for someone like you. Something's wrong. You feel heavy, as if a giant hand was pressing you down. The skin on your face is burning. Perhaps unconsciously you expect something like this as a vampire walking into a cathedral. Only it's not the building or God making you feel like you're burning alive. It's the man, the priest. Welcome, my child. The priest's tone is kind, but the rising panic inside is telling you that kindness is not for the likes of you. Well, let's be a little bit more aggressive here and confront the priest. The only way to understand these painful feelings is to push forward and confront the priest. As you step closer to the priest, panic rises inside you. The emotions are hard to control: fear, anger, pain, while trying to wrestle you in different directions, away. Can I help you? Are you okay? The priest talks to you like he would a lost vagrant who has chosen to enter the house of God. How are you doing this? I'm afraid I don't understand. It's simply too much. You mutter something incoherent in reply. You don't sound like a vampire, an undead being made powerful by immortal blood. You're just another sad, confused, lost soul. You turn around and stagger away, only feeling like yourself once you're back on the street outside. You stand on the sidewalk confused and scared. No enemies seem to be attacking you. The priest didn't follow you. The night air is wet with the smells of the city, the same as every night. How did it feel? You look at the man speaking to you. He's well dressed, if a little archaic, dark-haired, handsome, like a character from an old movie. He smiles as if he knows something you don't. You glance around. There are people on the street. You don't appear to be in immediate danger. Did you do this to me? No, absolutely not. Let me introduce myself. My name is Benoit Segal. Segal? Segal? Like as in, okay, we share many things in common, even if you don't know me. Benoit offers his hand to you. You refuse, glaring at him. Be confrontational. Benoit's brow rises in surprise and he returns his hand to his side. Would you mind sitting with me for a moment? Benoit points to a park bench nearby in darkness because of a broken streetlight. Wary, you decide to follow him. Only an enemy totally unconcerned with the masquerade would attack you here. Benoit sits down, and you follow suit. For a moment, you both contemplate the cathedral in silence. I know how it feels. What you just felt, I have experienced it myself many times. Stop going in there. For a moment, you consider how to respond. It's clear Benoit sent the invitation to come here and orchestrated this little setup. Why'd you invite me? What's the point? Why'd you go to the trouble of getting me here? We share a connection, you and I. I'll explain it later, but right now the important thing is that it's so much easier to show than tell. I wanted you to meet Father Anthony, or see him, experience him. Did you wonder why it felt like that? It was the priest. At first I thought it was because I was in a church, but then I realized it came from him, the priest. I think you're right. It does come from him. It's his faith that makes you feel like that. He's safe in his belief, while you are one of the damned. Do you ever wonder what's the role of a vampire in God's creation? You stop to think. Of course you've wondered what this is all about. Whether it's about God or nature, you don't really know what being a vampire means. That's the trouble with the Masquerade. A human faced with a human problem can go online and find something that helps. You can't. Masquerade means that everything there is to know about your condition is secret, hidden away. You're left relying on the unreliable opinions of people like Benoit. Suddenly Benoit takes your hand and presses it against his chest. As he stares into your eyes, you feel his heart stop. My heart no longer beats, yet I move. I talk. Is that how God intended us to be? Let me go. Benoit lets go of your hand and you quickly withdraw it. You're asking yourself these same questions. You know you are. Sometimes I'm skeptical too, but in Father Anthony's presence I know faith is real. I know it because it hurts so much. But perhaps you have questions about faith in our kind. Not particularly. How do you know any of these stories are true? Okay, I think there was a little bit of a glitch there. I don't. How could I know? This is what faith is. You have to believe something. Good and evil, right and wrong, love and hate. I believe we are damned. I also believe there is always hope. Grace. Father Anthony's faith shows me the way. It's so easy for us to lose ourselves in a morass of occult speculation. Some of our kind revere Cain, others Lilith. Many in the Camarilla place their faith in the invisible guidance of the Methuselahs, who are supposed to watch over us. Yet I wonder how much that really matters when compared to the character of a good man. Did I just come here to talk about religion? Did you have anything else, or did I come here to talk about religion? I know it's overwhelming. It was for me when I first met Father Anthony. I know there are others like him whose faith shines like a beacon. Priests, old ladies, children. Anyone can have the conviction inside them. Alright, I don't know why we're here. Other being proselytized to. I gotta go. I can't concentrate when I know the priest is still inside. Benoit nods patiently. Let's meet again in a few nights, here at the cathedral. We can talk more after you've thought it through. You leave Benoit sitting in the shadow of the cathedral, contemplating what lies within. It would be easier to ignore his words without the reality of what you experienced. Father Anthony was holy. You know it to be true. But what does that mean? Okay, the night is still young. Let's... I saw you, you bastard. Okay, let's go, Boy, it's almost time to end the episode. Let's make this episode a little bit longer. For all I know, this could go horribly wrong. Okay, so we're gonna go talk to... Oh yeah, and this guy's also an associate of Kadir. So, another aspect of him being a detective is that he will have information, so maybe that'll be a little bit more informative. The other two just kind of seem a little bit... I mean, it's just like the Gangrel chick. Like, we'd just be cold calling them because we have absolutely no connection to go and do that. Here we can at least name drop Kadir. And maybe Sophie. I would imagine he would know. So let's go talk to D'Angelo. As you make your way down Clinton Street, the incessant hum of traffic gives way to the ominous silence of the waterfront. You stop to take in the familiar bouquet of the Hudson, made all the more potent by your recently sharpened senses. Across the basin, the Red Hook grain terminal rears its rusty frame, once a bustling industrial area, now a sleeping giant splayed out on the riverbank, forgotten, abandoned. Conveniently so, especially for one of the hidden. Keeping to the shadows, you sneak closer to the dilapidated complex, making your way past hole-ridden silos and wobbly chain-link fences. By the time you reach the entrance to the main building, you can almost feel the rust particles making themselves cozy at the back of your throat. Not getting your hopes up, you give the door a slight nudge. To your surprise, it gives almost instantly. Looks like someone's been using it recently. Once inside, you find yourself in a large empty hall. Looking around, you can almost picture it back in its heyday, stacked to the rafters with heavy machinery. You notice a set of stairs leading up to a mezzanine, most likely an office space, and then you see it, a faint light coming from one of the upper rooms. Looks like you're in luck. Quietly, with bated breath, you climb the steps and approach the dimly lit room. This is a fantastic way to be incredibly suspicious. Like, we know we're approaching someone's domain, and we're doing this quietly, trying to sneak up on them instead of, announcing that we're here. The door creaks open, revealing what looks like an old-timey detective's office, complete with crooked window blinds, an overflowing ashtray, and paper scattered across a wooden desk. Suddenly, it hits you, that nagging feeling. This is all too convenient, too inviting. Before you can react, the trap is already sprung. A plume of cigar smoke wafts over your shoulder. The barrel of a gun rubs against your spine. A raspy voice whispers in your ear. "Let me guess. Took a wrong turn at the third silo." Well, he looks worse than the thumbnail there, for sure. Should I use my presence? Should I try to use my presence against another vampire who is older than me and probably therefore more powerful? I do not think this is a good situation to try and get violent in. Are we powerful enough to try this? I think this is also a risk too. But being a little bit more aggressive, maybe we could... Okay, let's try it. Driven by a strange hunch, you open your mouth. You hear yourself talking, but the words are not yours. They seem to be coming from the deepest recesses of your memory, a movie you saw as a child. You don't know why, but it seems oddly appropriate. I know what you're thinking. Oh my god, this punk ain't got nothing on me. I'm sitting pretty on a loaded Colt detective special, 5 in the cylinder, 1 in the chamber, and I only need the 1. As corny as it all sounds, the stranger seems oddly receptive to your tough guy monologue, so you decide to bump it up a notch. Focusing your will, you boost your aura, filling the room with your presence. I am in need of a drink, too. Your voice becomes smooth, oozing with charisma. A regular Sam Spade. You yourself can't help but feel a sense of awe. Hopefully the stranger feels it, too. But then there's this nagging feeling. What if there's more to this guy than he lets on? What if he's got me right where he wants me? Maybe I should hear what he has to say. Is that right? Yeah. So, how about we drop the tough guy act and talk like adults? You can always shoot me once we're done. For a few tense seconds, the room grows quiet. So quiet, in fact, you could swear you can actually hear the smoke swirling in the air. Finally, the stranger speaks again. You got a point there, kid. In a strange interplay of light and shadow, the stranger reappears behind his desk. Seeing him in his full, for lack of a better word, glory, you can't help but smirk. This is the dreaded Nosferatu? The way Sophie described them, you were expecting some grotesque monstrosity, but this guy? The clothes, the swagger, the hard-boiled detective routine, it all comes across as a bad joke. Still, when it comes to appearance, his lineage is undeniable. From 30 feet away, he could probably pass for a bum with a nasty skin condition. From 5 feet away, he looks like something made to be seen from 30 feet away. He leans back in his chair, casually pointing his gun at you. So, what brings you to my humble office? Are you D'Angelo? You the one they call D'Angelo? That's my name, kid. Don't wear it out. My friends call me Jin. Do they? Why? Oh, because he probably drinks a lot. So you best stick to D'Angelo for the time being. Now, I suggest you tell me what this is about. Otherwise, I kindly ask you to get the fuck out of my office. I can see why Kadir keeps you. See? I said we could name drop him. Charming. I can see why Kadir keeps you around. His expression sours. Not a name you want to casually toss around, kid. But hey, I get it. You're not some random schmuck who wandered in here off the street. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Who I work for is less important. What I'm working on, however... I know. I'm here to help. Or we could, Yeah, okay, this is more of a snarky attitude. Isn't going so well, so let me help. He gives you a look that's dirty even by Nosferatu standards. Well, ain't you clever? Angelo lowers his shades. For a few seconds he sits motionless with his eyes fixed on yours. Suddenly, he raises his gun, almost making you flinch. Almost. Then he twirls it into his shoulder holster in a flashy display that's definitely... Does he have a shotgun? Was that what I remember reading? I don't know, anyway. Okay, so at practice, look a lot in front of a mirror. You see the Nosferatu's lips move, but the quiet mumbling clearly isn't meant for your ears. Listening in, you're able to catch snippets of his monologue. Sure, they seem to care. What was the endgame? What was their angle? Everybody's got one, even if they pretend like they don't, especially then. What the hell, maybe this town finally got to me. He pauses, sticks a fresh cigar between his crooked teeth. Maybe a good leap of faith is just what the doctor ordered. Are you narrating? Let's be a little bit more polite. He's. This is very tropey. You know, like the grizzled, confrontational type met with a guy who shows he's not taking any of his shit, and then they soften and they become buddies. This is vampire buddy cops. The beginning. Offer him a light. As he reaches into his pocket, you flash a lit lighter before his eyes. Or maybe you could use a healthy dose of unhealthy. For a split second, he gives you a puzzled look. Then, he leans over to your lighter, puffing on the cig as it catches fire. A wry smile comes back to his lips. I like you, kid. You might look like a used car salesman, but there's just something about you. Tell you what. I was just about to head back to the crime scene, take a look around, refresh my notes. You can tag along if you want to. I could use an assistant. Someone to take notes and make wild assumptions for me to shoot down. See, this is exactly what I predicted was going to happen. Who knows? If you're any good, I might consider making this a long-term arrangement. What are we waiting for? Just one more thing. You still got me at a disadvantage here. Seems like you've done some digging on me, but with you, I've barely scratched the surface. Catch my drift? So answer me this. Who was it that sent you into my neck of the woods? Or in layman's terms, who do you work for? Sophie Langley. For the first time since you got here, the Nosferatu adopts a look of genuine surprise. His eyes wander for a moment, finally giving way to a crooked smile. So you're the one, huh? The fledgling Toreador dame spared. But maybe that should have been a comma there? Yeah, that would make sense. Don't think she'd appreciate you throwing her name around. Thanks for being upfront, kid. One blink is enough for you to miss D'Angelo vanishing from his chair. Just when you're about to look around, he reappears right next to you. Up close, his smile is even more unnerving. All right, moonlight's burning. Let's get cracking. With a certain fascination, you watched Angelo stumble his way across West Brooklyn. Oddly animated, incessantly scratching his face and neck, stopping every once in a while for a bout of mumbling narration. He's most certainly a sight to behold. Still, he seems to be getting around okay, and you take particular note of the fact he seems to be choosing the darker, less frequented streets. There's definitely a method to his madness. Eventually, your leprous guide takes a sudden turn off of Van Brunt Street and into a particularly dingy alleyway. The torn pieces of yellow police tape are a dead giveaway. This has to be the place. Well, here we are. Time for you to earn your stripes. The thing is, though, if I'm going to have to be narrating this guy for the rest of the game, my throat is going to kill me. This is where they found him. Drained dry, not a drop of blood in him. And before you ask, no, I didn't get to see the body, so I don't know if there were any bite marks. So, what can you tell me? You take a moment to examine the crime scene. Judging by the chalk outline on the pavement, the man was killed recently. Curiously, there doesn't appear to be a trace of blood or viscera, and you know the city's cleanup crew isn't that fast or that thorough. Looking up, you notice a spray-painted sign on the wall. It reads, "The Blood Speaks," in big, crooked letters. You looked at D'Angelo. The Nosferatu gives you an expecting look. I mean, the graffiti looks like a clue. How come there's no blood? Did you say the victim was drained dry? Because I don't see a trace of blood anywhere. Good eye, kid. It's the details that count. And given that the murder was committed right here and the victim didn't make a sound, we can therefore conclude that the killer was kindred. Bingo! Only a kindred could drain a human this quickly, this quietly. Not just any kindred. Take a look at that graffiti. What do you think it means? It seems desperate? I mean, neither, really. It's just like a vampire slogan. I don't think it's meant to throw us off. If anything, that was a major key. I don't know. It seems kind of desperate, I guess. My thoughts exactly. It's as if someone wanted to get a message across, but was too scared to stick around and write the whole damn book. So we got the abridged version. Tell me, if you were to guess, which clan would you say our killer belongs to? Well, I don't know why it would be... Well, okay, Malkavians, maybe, because that's kind of a cryptic thing. The blood speaks. Tremir, maybe, because they're blood sorcerers, but I'm going to go with more of a cryptic thing. Thin Bloods? I don't know why Thin Bloods would post a slogan like that. Yeah, let's try the Malkavians. Maybe it's a Malkavian serial killer? They're pretty nuts, right? Nah, kid, the Moonies can be a bit playful, but there's a method to their madness. It leaves a certain aftertaste. This right here reeks of desperation, so it is Thin Bloods. Okay. I might be jumping to conclusions, but my money's on the Thin Bloods. He pauses, spits out the mangled remains of a cigar. Shit, looks like we're gonna have to pay Larson a visit. That guy that we talked to, the Thin Blood Primogen? No, Larson the bicycle repairman. Of course the Thin Blood fucking Primogen. Not sure if he knows who the killer is, but he could probably make an educated guess. In any case, we'd be doing him a favor. If it turns out one of his is violating the Masquerade, it would put him in a hell of an awkward position, and I mean shitting upside down awkward. It's the kind of weakness the other Primogen would love to exploit. His position in the council is bad as it is. He pauses for a moment and mumbles to himself, but it's too quiet for you to make out. Finally, he lights up a fresh cigar. He takes a puff and lets the smoke escape through his crooked smile. Another reason that I think that we were meant to pick this guy is also because, as it said in the description of the Bruja, that they like to pair up with the outcasts and downtrodden, and who would better fit that description than Nosferatu? Alright, kid, let's get this over with. Compared to the industrial ugliness of Red Hook, Sterling Place is quite a change of scenery. The heavily gentrified and pleasantly dull residential area emanates the sort of peaceful apathy that rich hipsters scoff at and blue-collar workers dream of. All of a sudden, the Nosferatu stops. It almost seems like he was taking a deep breath, steeling himself for things to come. This is the place. With that, he points to a surprisingly nice-looking two-story house. The place is almost completely dark. Almost. You notice a dim light shining through the curtains of an upper-story window. It's probably safe to assume the head of the family is working late, especially if the head of the family happens to be a vampire. Okay, kid, we gotta be gentle about this. I'm talking velvet gloves, soft cushions, you rang my lord, gentle. We need to get Larson out here without making a fuss or letting his family see us. Oh, right, because he's got a immortal family, right? If we blow this, he'll shut down like a speakeasy on raid night. Trust me, I know. Okay, so what's the plan? Tell you what, how about you take the lead on this one? Really? Okay, kid, we gotta do this very carefully, so I'm gonna let this guy I met 5 minutes ago take the lead. Don't fuck this up. I'm curious to see how you'll handle it. Well, given how we handled but we did talk to this guy before, so maybe that'll help. You take a step back and look around the area. The lit-up window seems like a safe bet. Now it's just a matter of getting Larson's attention. His, and no one else's. Sounds like a power. As you're trying to come up with a viable strategy, you are suddenly startled by a loud noise. It takes you a second to identify the sound as a dog's barking. It doesn't take you long to figure out where it came from, as a bearded man leading a Rottweiler on a leash comes into view. I do need to feed. Is this considered this guy's domain? This seems like a very bad time to be doing this. However, maybe we could say, hey, this guy out here, could we use your phone or something? Maybe this will open something. This seems like a very bad time to be doing this, especially when there's a dog. What are we going to do about the dog? But when am I going to get to feed again? This is going to start impacting me. See, I don't know. I feel like we could maybe bend this around, but I also feel like the guy's, Mr. Detective here is going to be like, what the hell are you doing? This is not the time. So I guess we could throw a rock at the window? That seems very cliche and not like it would only grab his attention if he's with his family. Well, I mean, this is a mistake here. Okay, we'll do the cliche thing. Missing 2 feeding opportunities in a row, though, doesn't seem like the best thing to do. But he does have a dog with him. If it was just some dude, that'd be fine, because then we could use that as an excuse, knocking on the door, being like, hey, this guy out here needs some help. Can we, you know what I mean? So let's skip it. You kneel down and pick a rock off the lawn. One small enough not to break glass, but big enough to get someone's attention. Deftly, you chuck the rock at the window. It bounces off the glass with a quiet but audible thunk. Moments pass in silence, making you think no one got your message. Just as you start to look for another rock, you hear the window slide open. A very unassuming and slightly unshaven man in a turtleneck appears at the window. As soon as he notices you, his expression sours, just like he smelled something rotten. He addresses your Nosferatu partner in what could only be described as a very loud and very angry whisper. Get the fuck off my lawn, D'Angelo. You know goddamn better than to show your ugly mug around here. You glance over to D'Angelo. He looks somewhat embarrassed, scratching the back of his neck, clearly trying to find the right angle to play this. He did say he wanted me to take the lead, so we wouldn't have bothered you if this wasn't important. Eric? Stay where you are. You stay out in the lawn. You wait out on the lawn, listening to Larson quietly making his way downstairs. Before long, he appears on the porch, locking the front door behind him. He motions at you to follow him off to the side of the house. There, he turns towards you. You want? It's about the Red Hook murders. We think one of yours is responsible. Bullshit. A Duskborn's got enough trouble just staying alive out here. What could possibly make them openly violate the Masquerade? Desperation. The killer's been leaving messages. Whoever they are, I think they know something. Something they can't share with just anyone. I know it seems far-fetched, but it's the only way this puzzle fits together. Nah, I don't buy it. You're reaching, trying to find a scapegoat, get in your boss's good graces. Word gets around to Angelo. You think I don't know who you're working for? See, I don't want to be a total dick because, like, we've made a connection with this guy before. That's what's got him down here. So we don't necessarily need to be super aggressive. This is not a situation for that. So let us help clear your name. What have you got to lose? Everything. I've been a thorn in the council's side for a while now. This is just the excuse they need to get rid of me. What if it turns out one of yours did it, and you sat on your hands to protect him? You think the council won't jump on that? He looks off into the darkness, pondering his options. He lets out a heavy sigh. Look, I'll ask around, consult my sources. If it turns out one of my own is responsible, they will face justice. In the meantime, keep your deductions to yourself. I have enough trouble as it is. Deal. Good. Now if you'll excuse me, I have to get back to my family. And with that, Larson retreats to the elusive safety of his home. You decide it's best to move along. You walk a couple blocks in utter silence. Even D'Angelo's mumbling seems to have taken a back seat. Oddly enough, you find his newfound reticence somewhat unnerving. Finally, the Nosferatu stops and turns towards you. Hell of a night. I don't know about you, kid, but I sure could use a drink. Something warm, in a tall, sweaty glass. Me too, actually. But first, let me tally your score. Let's see now. You did make a good first impression. I like someone who can talk themselves out of a tight spot. Talking's cheap. Bullets, not so much. You held your own at the crime scene. Nothing I hadn't figured out on my own, but hey, we can't all be professionals. Finally, when the situation called for subtlety, you managed to avoid unwanted attention. Discretion is what separates a private dick from just any old dick. Good call not catching the man with his dog. All in all, you did fine. Not fine, but not bad for your first case. Don't let it get to your head. I'll be in touch. Let you know if I hear from Larson. Be ready to meet me at the office. He starts to walk away, but suddenly stops and turns back toward you. And bring a notepad. Every good assistant should have one. And with that, we have to rest, feeling slightly thirsty. So hopefully, tomorrow's not going to be too bad. Hopefully we'll have an opportunity tomorrow. One that I probably can't pass up. This will be strike number 3 if I do. Anyway, I will end this one here. I will see you. Now, wait a minute. Can we get more companions? More opportunities to screw things up. So that sucks. So if I had managed to get all of them as companions, would that mean that I could have more opportunities for the story? That could be interesting. Well, anyway, I'll see you next time.